Professional serving community. Talkradio.nyc.
Every single Friday morning, your boy climbs all the way up the stairs, just below the roof, really, in the attic. Your boy Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connected. The show is Philanthropy and Focus. And it's funny, I missed the attic this week. I was out a lot, galas, golf outings, a lot of different events we were out at doing the nonprofit sector connector thing. And I missed you, attic. We're back together, me and the attic. Every single week I do this show, man. I mean, what fun it is to be involved with a sector that is changing the world. You know, this week alone, I was in a golf outing for New Ground out here on Long Island, which is an organization that is breaking the cycle of homelessness, specifically as it affects the veteran community. We've learned a lot about that on the program. Then I was in the city Tuesday night with an organization called Exponents, which for 35 years has been addressing the needs of people living with addiction issues, living with HIV and AIDS, mental health issues. And that's just a really, really special organization, rooftop event, New York City. Take that into Wednesday, did an event with our new project, the Philanthropy Network of New York. We were at DDI, you know, the Developmental Disabilities Institute, scooping the Italian ices. Shout out to my dad, Ralph's Italian Ices in Huntington. If it wasn't for my dad donating all the Italian ices, I would just be a guy that shows up at events without Italian ices, I guess. But it's thank you, Dad. I appreciate everything you're doing. Gang, if you live on Long Island, check in with my dad, 362 New York Avenue in Huntington, right next to Paramount Theater. If you're somewhere else, then you don't even know what I'm talking about, and that's all good. So, but if you ever make it out to Long Island, meet up with me. I'll buy you an Italian ice. Today we have a special guest. Every week we have a special guest, but I have Beth. Before I go into my rant on a whole bunch of things, I want to say good morning, Beth Fiteni from Green Inside and Out. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
I'm psyched to have you. And it was funny. It's like, you know, award winning. And what do I mean award winning, gang? You know, the Imagine Awards, the Long Island Imagine Awards. So I'm looking at my other screen here. Go to imagineawardsli.com if you're not familiar with the Imagine Awards. But the Flagstar Private Bank Innovation Award winner in 2024 is and was Green Inside and Out. So shout out, Beth. Applause.
Thank you so much.
That is so special. And I said, we laughed yesterday.
It was.
Well, it was special, right? And we laughed yesterday because I know myself a long time. In fact, my whole life. And I was saying to you yesterday, I was like, I don't really know what I said to you, but I'm sure I said something like, hey, I'm Tommy D. I'm the nonprofit sector connector. Congratulations. You need to come on my show. And then I was like, on to the next person. And it was something like that. So
yes.
Probably either like, yo, that guy's crazy, or yeah, he's crazy and I will like him, or whatever. We'll see. So I'm psyched that you're here. As I mentioned, it's been a heck of a week, and I know we were trying to hook up on the phone, so I appreciate your patience. We are going to have another special guest join us, which is a friend of yours who I spoke to briefly and was just texting with. So it's an exciting show. I was checking out, you know, your background and things like this, and like when we spoke yesterday afternoon, I don't know if you can hear the train, but that's the Long Island Railroad. It's cruising by. It makes some noise during the spring because I have the windows open. So when we were talking yesterday, I really got the feel for this whole ecology thing, saving our planet, doing whatever we can to make it a better place. This is your world, man. This is your life, you know? And that to me is super exciting because selfishly, here's a secret I want everybody to know. Selfishly, I do this show because it's fun and also because I learn things on the show. So I get to learn more about topics that I don't know a whole lot about. And I will, one thing I'll say, and this might cause a controversy or a controversy, either way, however you pronounce it, but right out of the gate, because not between you and me, but between me and some of the municipalities, because I learned, I have been putting a recycling, back when I grew up in Franklin Square, we put an orange bucket. Back in the day, it was an orange recycling pail. We always did it. And where I live now, it's blue, or maybe it's blue everywhere, but it's blue recycling pail. The people who picked up the garbage one day and the recycling a different day say it all ends up in the same place. Now that, so I'm like, I don't know what the deal is. I talk to my neighbors. There's difference of opinion. I'm hoping I'm wrong. You're shaking your head. I hope that that's not true. And I hope it's not just a feel good thing that we separate all this stuff and then it ends up in the same place. So I don't know if you even want to start there. Maybe we can put it as a question we address some point in the show. But as we talked about yesterday, Beth, who are you? Why does this organization exist? And what is the impact we're making? Tell me about it.
Sure, sure. Yeah, so we can talk about recycling for sure. I got to tour the recycling facility in Brookhaven a couple of years ago, which was fascinating.
Okay,
But
so it's legit. So they are actually recycling stuff. So it's not ending up like in the same pail when it gets to the center.
no, and it depends on the town. So what happens is certain towns go to Omni Recycling in Westbury and others go to the recycling facility in Brookhaven. So it depends what town you live in. And some do commingle everything and they actually go to facilities where they do get separated. It's not as good as when you separate yourself. That really keeps things cleaner, which lends itself to a better product in the end. So it does really make a difference. And what I was told was the plastics, for example, that go to Brookhaven get turned into paint cans and carpets. It gets turned into other plastic polyester products. So there's 100% chance it won't be recycled if you put it in the garbage.
It's 100. So that's a good statistic. So as somebody who grew up, I used to like to wager. I used to like to bet on things. There's 100% chance if you put in that white kitchen bag with the other things, it's not going to get recycled.
Correct.
So you just opened up 9 different conversations for me in my mind because I'm hearing you talk about the plastic being recycled, but there's also a book that you wrote about
Yes.
things like that. So I have a million questions, but I want to set the stage with who are you? How did you get connected to this work? Because when I look, you went to law school, you went to Vermont Law School. So
Yes, I went to Vermont Law School for a master's and studied
okay,
environmental in college. Yep, for
so
30
are
years
you
I've been doing this.
30 years? Why? Like, where did you grow up and what, like, not everybody gets drawn to, hey, I want to save the planet. I want to help out. I think the younger generation certainly does, and we'll talk about it. But what drew you to this type of work?
Yeah, well, when I was young, I feel like it was just an inner calling, but when I was young, I used to go camping with my parents and spend a lot of time outdoors, and I loved animals. I wanted to be a vet until I learned that I had to give dogs shots, and then that was the end of that. But I did well in science and just started to realize that I could make a career of protecting the environment, which would then protect animals and all of us. I think something that really drives me, because when I went to school and learned about the laws and everything, it's like we're actually using products that are toxic. And we think whoever they is protecting us. And sometimes that's the case. I mean, there's laws in place, obviously, a lot of environmental laws, but it's a little imperfect. So we still could be using things that could be causing us harm, like, pesticides, or if we use them incorrectly, like overuse. And
Yeah.
so that goes into our water. And like you, kind of a little bit of a selfish thing, like it makes me mad because I'm like, I try to live so organic. Like I try to walk my talk, everything, my clothes, everything. We could talk about the book in a minute. Um, but and then it's like, but I'm breathing dirty air and we're drinking dirty water. And why is that? And we can change that. So that's my motivation.
I love that. And I'll tell you, the thing is, I'm not somebody who's defeatist. I don't like to get negged out and stuff like that. But I do feel sometimes that I'll just use this word, like there's just an avalanche of toxins and challenges and things like that. Like, I'm just going to call out some companies because this is right out there in the news. Like that company that makes Roundup, like that chemical is absolutely terrible. And
Yeah.
people cancer, I don't know how many thousands of cases. Gang, I have no certification to do this roundup. I know this is in the news, so I don't know all the details of it, but I do know that, and especially here on Long Island, I mean, and this part,
Yeah.
maybe this goes back to some of the other big name companies that are historic Long Island companies, and maybe I won't say their names right now, but just the chemicals that, they were on the news day. they just, you know, it was a Grumman thing recently. There's something in the news that, but who was surprised about that? That Grumman had all this refuse or, you know, chemicals that were leaching into our water supply. Of course they were. And then again, I don't know this, but I can connect dots. Well, I'm a connector, so that's what I do, but I can connect dots. And I would be curious, is the fact that there's all these chemicals in our water, is that why there's such a high prevalence of breast cancer on Long Island and other cancers? I would have to say, as you know, somebody who would just take a shot on something, say, yeah, it's probably something there, man. You know, if there's fire, there's smoke. I don't know, Beth. You don't have to commit to this, but these are things.
Yeah, it's been studied quite a bit for years and years. And I've worked with a lot of breast cancer groups to do prevention. You know, it's one thing to go and get a mammogram after you're sick, which I recommend, of course, but there are things we can do to at least minimize our risk. There's never, you know, 100% way to protect ourselves, but yeah, there's things we can do to protect ourselves from toxins. And of course, you know, in the products we buy, like the pesticides, like I give presentations all over Long Island about there's toxins even in cleaners that we use or body care products.
Yeah.
In fact, we're working on legislation right now through the Just Green Partnership called the Beauty Justice Act and in Albany. And it would basically just, the bill removes the most toxic chemicals that cause cancer, like in our makeup and shampoos and shaving creams and everything we use on our bodies. So
Yeah,
common stuff, which
yeah.
people would probably think, you know, we don't know that there's toxins in our hair dye, but there are. And
Oh
so
yeah, well,
we're
that's one of the
really
worst.
working to get rid of it.
That's one of the worst, and that's why I just let my goatee go gray because you know even the vanity makes me want to dye it, but I'm worried about the chemicals. I'm kidding a little, but I do think about dyeing it sometimes. I think
Suits you.
it suits me,
Yeah,
agrees with
very
me.
distinguished.
Thank you. I feel very distinguished. You know, I'll tell you even a funny thing. Like this week, we played golf for Newgrounds, as I mentioned earlier in the week. Shout out to my friend Rod Gannis for the invite, my buddy Doug Rowe for playing golf, and my business partner Ed Probst from Vanguard Benefits to round out the foursome. And you know, I don't put you know, sunblock on.
Mhm.
And I don't put sunblock on because I think sunblock has some of these chemicals you're talking about. And I put it,
Oxybenzone.
okay, and I put that oxybenzone. I put that on my skin, and then I would be sweating while I'm playing golf, and the pores are just sucking in those chemicals, right? So I'm saying I'm gonna take my chance with my olive complexion and get a little tan. Now I'm not sure. I mean, it's like a pick your poison kind of thing, you know, right?
Yeah.
So I go with I'm not gonna, you know, I'm gonna let the sun is natural. I'm gonna go that route. So I don't know, you know,
And
what other.
there are natural you know, sunblocks also that contain titanium dioxide, for example, that just sit on your skin and they sort of form a block of the sun, like a physical,
So it
instead of
doesn't
going into
absorb.
the skin. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds cute because you said a block. Isn't that what it's called? It's called sunblock. It's not called
Yes.
sun soak all these chemicals into my body. But anyway, am I on my soapbox? It felt like it for a second there. All right, let me get off that. So at a young age, you want to be a vet, and then you realize I can help the planet, the animals, and the people by doing this other type of work. I started to ask you this earlier. You went to the Vermont Law School. Did you study law? Are you an attorney? Did you take the bar, or was that more of like I want to understand the law?
No, yep, it was a 1-year master's degree in environmental law specifically. And it, you know, it did help a lot because then afterwards I did get into working for a lot of nonprofits over the years in Washington, D.C. and New York. And also I've worked for the government, for New York State, for Department of Public Service, working on clean energy policy. Obviously, climate change is a huge issue. I've kind of covered them all, all the issues over the years. Yeah, so served me well.
Well, we have a guest coming up later in the show, a friend of yours, and I was talking to him. We had a little bit of a joke, and we were talking about ice, and we were talking about glaciers and things like that. And can we just admit like climate change is like a thing? Like this, can we just do that? Are we ready yet? Hello,
I would
everybody.
love to think that it's not happening, but sorry.
Yeah, can we admit hello, everybody? Hello, or let's. You know what? Someone that you know what we've done to this environment, and
There's tons of studies about it, so I don't understand really the doubt anymore, you know, and we all live on the same planet. Why not? And why not have industries here in the United States, you know, doing solar and wind that bring jobs here? Just makes sense.
absolutely, absolutely. You know what? The one that really, and it's like only one, like I guess it's a symptom of what we have as a human race have done to this planet. The one that I've never seen, but I've heard of. I talked to somebody recently who's a scuba diver. The coral reef, like that one is just so depressing. Like that one is like, I mean, if that's what the outward projection of what we've done to the oceans, right? What exactly if are the things we don't see, right? Like that's there. That so
Affecting species. Yeah.
yeah,
It's really,
yeah.
really crazy. A lot of things going on. Like, they say warmer waters make turtles have more the eggs develop into more females than males. So eventually the population declines. Things we'd never even think about.
I call that, and I didn't make this one up, but I call that the ripple effect. And what is and usually I like to talk about the ripple effect in a positive way. What is the ripple effect of me connecting you to all these cool people, and now they know you, and you're cool, and they're cool, and things happen. But what is the ripple effect of decisions we make that affect this planet? I have a whole thing. I can go on for an hour, probably just complaining about capitalism and commercialism and how like the big companies don't necessarily care what's in that sunblock. But we're not going to do that today. We'll say that for some rant I can do for about 40 minutes for you all. What we're here to do is talk about this organization, the impact that the organization is making. We're going to go to a quick break now. I want to get into green inside and out, what it does. I want to talk about compost. The fact that like I have like strawberries that went bad the other day and I needed a place to do something with them. Like that's a problem, and you're solving problems for people like that. So
Yeah.
this show is called Philanthropy and Focus. Your boy is called the Nonprofit Sector Connector. I'm here with Beth Fiteni. We're right back.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Brancu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC. Uplift, educate, empower.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
We are back. We are back, folks. We're back. I'm excited. I was just on the website. This is something that actually, here we go. I'm going to curse. I'm pissed off for greatness again, Beth, and I got to let you get into the conversation. Let's unmute you. But I'm pissed off for greatness in the fact that I'm 46 years young. And that means I went to school. I graduated high school in 1996. So I was whatever formative school years were the 80s and early 90s, right? So 1980s, 1990s. In case I don't know why I felt like I had to throw 19 in there, but it was a long time ago. And let's just say that's 30 years ago or 32 years ago, right? And let's just say at the time they told us how bad styrofoam was. And let's just say 30 years later, I still can go places and I get a styrofoam cup. I remember even in school, and this just came to me because I looked on your website. We were sharing the website. Everybody go to greeninsideandout.org. Spell out A-N-D. Greeninsideandout.org. But it says Suffolk County Styrofoam and Straws Ban. I mean, still styrofoam, like, I remember they would have these corrugated like cardboard like trays instead of the styrofoam trays. But I'm telling you, I still, not all the time, but you can still end up places where they got a styrofoam cup. So these are things that are still problems.
Yeah, absolutely. And eventually Nassau County followed as well with at least with the styrofoam clamshells. But yeah, we worked with legislator Kara Hahn at that time to pass that legislation. We did a strawless campaign to get the restaurants to use, not give out free straws and things like that. It's small steps, but it's to raise awareness about the plastics, which are, for some reason ending up in the ocean. I think it has to do with ocean dumping, but
Yeah, I do too.
But yeah, so we worked with her on that, which was a wonderful success. And also we worked with her on dry cleaning legislation to make sure that when you walk into a dry cleaner, there's a sign on the wall that shows you what they're using. Because prior to that, you would walk in and not know that they're probably using perc or perchloroethylene, which is a carcinogen. But there's a lot of alternatives now. Some of them are going green. So it's just a matter of knowing and, to look.
I'm going to ask my dry cleaner, actually. We're going to talk about that, but I found there's an article right here. Let me just share the screen while we're talking about it, because this is what this organization is. It's resources. So there's an article here. It says defining dry cleaning. And then there's an article, greener dry cleaners on Long Island. This is all right on the website, guys. And let me share the screen so I can show you that while we talk about it. Because
might be a little outdated, but yeah, it's there.
It's there though. The data's there. It talks about the year 2020. So I mean, it's got to be still relevant. But the fact is, and I feel like there was like an old episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where Larry David was complaining about like the Martinizing or something like that. I don't know if I can go back to it mentally, but I feel like there was something there. But check this out. Go to it was right. If you're only listening, by the way, the website again is greeninsideandout.org. And you'll see there's a video here, there's an article. So all right, I want to stop the share for a sec. Let's go back to the show. And here's the thing though. You wrote a book, right? And now last thing I want to put before the book, hold it up so they can see. But think about this. If I go to a place and they put all these carcinogens on the clothes that I'm going to put on my body all day, it goes back to my sunblock story earlier. What are we doing, gang? What exactly are we doing? When there's an alternative to your earlier point. It might have been one thing. Hey, this is the stuff we have, and this is what we got, 50 years ago. But we don't have to do that anymore. So tell me about the book, please. I want to know about this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been going out giving lectures for many, many years, and I started wearing eco clothes, and I noticed that people were really interested in that. Oh, can I touch it? It was, organic cotton or hemp or Tencel, which is made from tree fibers.
Is that one that is Tencel? That's made from like bamboo?
Yes, you can make clothing from bamboo. And so then I said, well, somebody should write a book about this. And I was buying all these eco clothes, and one of the shop owners said, well, why don't you write the book? So I did. It took me 8 years.
All right.
But yeah, so it just goes into all these alternatives, where to find them. So it's really fun. And, a lot of the thing that you can really do now is just go to the thrift store instead of buying new, buy reuse. So you're like repurposing clothing. That's a wonderful way to go eco-friendly without, looking for anything special. And there is a lot of interest in, like, with groups reducing the chemicals in the clothes, because there's a lot of chemicals in the dyes, like you were mentioning. There's a lot of interest in that. There's coalitions forming. So it's trending in the right direction. Like companies like Patagonia for years have been going towards using recycled and eco-friendly fabrics. So it's changing. It's getting there.
Yeah, I want to see if I can. There was a company up in the South Bronx that was. I had a friend of mine who's been on the show. My friend Michael Partis has been on the show. He was with the Bronx Cooperative Organization, which was bringing co-ops of businesses. It was a co-op for businesses, and they were making this out. It was like a vegan cashmere, and I forget. Like, I'll try to find it when we go to break again. But it was like a vegan. Gang, there's options out there. And to tell you the truth, man, I got to talk to you about this specifically because I would like to wear linen, but maybe I got to figure, something. Would like to wear hemp. I think that's kind of my speed.
Linen's good. Linen's made of flax.
Oh, so it is good. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't even know what it's made out of. Also,
yeah.
Sorry, everybody. I'm getting more linen now. But linen, and I want to wear some hemp. And I know there's like a lot of now we don't forget, gang, put the cannabis conversation away for a second. Hemp is an incredible resource, right?
Yeah. It can be used for a lot of things,
So many
fibers and all kinds of stuff. Yeah,
Right, right. And it's natural. So eventually when you're done using it, it will go back to the earth, right? It's
right.
going to disintegrate with some of these other things that we're talking about, these things that I mean, shirts and couches and carpets, like you talk about, if like plastics in them, and that's not great
Yeah.
stuff.
And PFAS, which is another big problem right now, you might be hearing about in the news. It's perfluoroalkyl substances. And we work with the Just Green Partnership to actually get PFAS removed from apparel in New York State. So we're one of the first
You're
states
making
to do that.
change, man. You're making freaking change. I love it. Advocacy. You know, we do another show. It's called the Professionals and Animal Lovers Show. It's called Pals. We're about to launch an online society. This whole thing is very exciting.
Oh,
My
it's great.
yeah, yeah, my partner Valerie,
Definitely support veganism, like you mentioned. That's very important too. People say,
100%.
what's the biggest thing you can do? I say, eat less meat because it has so many impacts on the environment and animals, obviously, but
Obviously.
on the environment too. It's a big part of greenhouse gases
Yeah.
from all the cattle.
100%. No, and again, we know this. We know the answers. You know what it is?
Yeah.
And shout out to people like yourself who are on the front lines doing the work. Shout out to my friend John DiLeonardo from Humane Long Island. I don't know if you know him. You
Yeah.
know, Long Island Orchestrating for Nature. John's a friend. He's been on the program. I was outside Starbucks with him, like well, I won't say who it was, but somebody in his sphere was dressed as a cow. We were outside. We were outside of a
Yeah.
couple of Starbucks that day because what was happening was I drink oat milk, and what was happening was they were upcharging, and they still are, as is
Mhm.
Dunkin' Donuts. Everywhere I go, upcharges me when I want my oat milk, but I'm willing to pay because I like the oat milk anyway, so it's all good. But I want to, so we talked about the book. We talked about, so the name of the book, by the way, everybody, I shared it. So if you're only listening, though, it's The Green Wardrobe Guide. Find
Yes.
eco chic fashions that look great and help save the planet. That sounds pretty practical to me. You're gonna look good and you're gonna save the planet. So I appreciate that. So let's talk about the programs. Our special guest joined us. We're gonna bring him into the conversation in a few minutes.
I
But
brought more show and tell on compost.
what is all right? So what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about compost? Let's talk about compost. I had all these strawberries. I needed something to do it because they were not couldn't be eaten
I
at this.
put them in my bin.
Well, where's your bin? Because I'm all the way in Nassau County. So
Oh, Huntington.
Huntington. Oh, that's not, you know what? I go out to my dad's store a lot. I might just drop by with my compost at your house. But let's
Sounds
just say you had an island of like 11 million people and they all couldn't go to your house to drop off the strawberries. Where would they go?
Great question. Yeah, so there's a little bit of a story there. So, well, first of all, to answer that question, anyone can do backyard composting and just keep your food scraps in a little container of any sort, and then you can have a pile in the back, or they sell bins that are
I
enclosed.
did that. So I have that.
with-
So I've done it. I
you
want to
make
talk to you.
compost.
I want to talk to you offline because I'm not very good at the follow up on some things. So,
Okay.
so we have the one that turns and then it stopped turning, and then I have this other one where it's got like a thing you pull out on the bottom, and it's supposed to like
Oh,
once it
yeah.
builds up. So I want to get worms and all this stuff. How does composting work from your perspective? Like, what's the best way to do this?
Yeah, the trick to it is that you have to have browns, which are kind of like carbon-based, like dried leaves or even clean cardboard mixed with the food scraps. And if you aerate it with the oxygen, you get in a few weeks or months, maybe you get rich compost soil that you can use in your garden.
Like primo, right? I mean, it's
Yes.
primo. It's just become that it was organic material, but now it's become composted material. I mean, what's better than that for your plants and your trees and your shrubs? We got a lot of shrubs by me, so that's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're trying, one of the things that we did through Green Inside and Out was we applied for a grant a couple of years ago, and we got a grant from the New York State Pollution Prevention Institute, who helped us to work with a town, and we ended up working with the town of Riverhead to establish Long Island's first food scrap drop-off site. And these are happening upstate. They're all over the country. I don't know why it's something new on Long Island, but we were the first. We were happy to work with Riverhead to establish that. So any resident of the town of Riverhead can bring their food scraps. Like, let's say you live in an apartment or you don't want to do backyard composting. You can bring your food scraps there and the town will turn it into compost. And eventually they're hoping, I think, to have a compost give back day. That would be great.
That would be fun.
But we need more of these across Long Island. And in fact, I was so happy. Last week was Compost Awareness Week internationally. And we published an op-ed saying this very thing, that Long Island needs more of these facilities. So that was cool.
I love that. Where's that op-ed? So how can
It was
people?
in Newsday on
It was in
Monday.
Newsday. No kidding. Congrats on that. That's a big deal, man. You're out there making the world a better place. Hold on. I have a coffee mug. Hold on.
Trying.
Look what you get. No big deal. Just changing the world. No big,
Love it.
no big deal. Just changing the world. When we go to break in a second, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the website again, gang, because I'm going to show it a little bit about the compost. It talks about the issue of food scraps and things like that. Gang, we're trying to, until our friend Elon can get us to Mars, we really need to do something with the planet we're on. I understand it, Elon. Multi-planet species. Trust me, I get in the rabbit hole on YouTube. I watch a lot of your stuff. However, right now where I live, I don't think I'm going to be here long enough to get to Mars. All right. If you download my personality and put it in a machine, maybe that'll go to Mars. But I think I need to figure out, how do we continue rather to protect this planet, Beth? Do you agree?
Yes, definitely.
All right. Well, you talk about show and tell. Show us the compost thing one more time before we go
Oh,
to break.
yeah. This is what a little compost bin looks like for your countertop. You can use anything.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's bins that you can have outside that rotate, or even just a pile. You just have to keep aerating it. And eventually you'll get nice soil from it.
And just listen, I had one on my counter. Don't just leave it on your counter. You actually have to do like get it outside eventually, because then other people who live in your house might not be so happy with you because you just keep letting things start to rot on your kitchen counter. Not a good look. I've heard. When we come back from break, we have a guest. You introduce a guest. Talk about show and tell. You not only brought that pot and your book. You know, what is that? That container is not a pot. What is it? Like a
little bin. Yeah, countertop bin.
So you bring a countertop bin, you bring books, you bring pamphlets, and you brought and we'll talk about that when we come back. 10 ways to reduce toxins. And you brought a person. You brought a person as show and tell. When we come right back, our friend Mark will be joining us. This is Philanthropy and Focus, back in 90 seconds. Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Were you an essential worker during the pandemic? If you needed to learn stages of epilepsy, did you depend on advocates? Did you use new innovations to cope with mental and neurological issues? Maintaining high quality of life and keeping good mental health are what we all strive for. I'm Frank R. Harrison, host of Frank About Health, and each week top healthcare influencers, professionals, and innovators answer these questions and more. Stay tuned on Thursdays at 5 p.m. on talkradio.nyc, and I will continue to be frank about health with all of you.
Are you a business owner? Do you want to be a business owner? Do you work with business owners? Hi, I'm Stephen Fry, your small and medium-sized business or SMB guy, and I'm the host of the new show, Always Friday. While I love to have fun on my show, we take those Friday feelings of freedom and clarity to discuss popular topics on the minds of SMBs today. Please join me and my various special guests on Friday at 11 a.m. on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
That's right. Your boy is at the top of the house, just below the roof. I'm in the attic. Who knew I was going to sing? I knew. No one else knew. Welcome back to the show. We have a new guest, and we have our existing guest. I don't know what to do. This has never happened before. Beth, help me out. What do we do next?
Sure. Well, I'm happy to introduce my colleague, Mark Huebner. We've worked together on quite a few projects, including the Riverhead one. Regarding composting, he helped facilitate that because he's on the town's advisory committee, environmental advisory. And also we worked together on a group called TALS, Taking a Lead on Zero Waste, which is looking at the overall picture of waste, not just the organics and food scraps, but everything.
Mark, welcome to the show. Welcome to Philanthropy and Focus. Currently, you're the president of North Fork Environmental Council, right? Co-chairperson of Riverhead Town Environmental Advisory Committee and the town's steering committee. Some things people don't realize. Abaquag, right? That's
Aquabog, and it's the perversion of Akabak, I think. I haven't done my reading yet, but yeah.
I just tell you, man, like some of the things, like all the Indian Native American names, use that word term, Native American names, on our island, it's unbelievable. Where was I yesterday? I was out in I was out east somewhere. Oh no, I was on the campus of Stony Brook. No, Suffolk County Community College. For the HIA event, Hauppauge Industrial Association. And one of the buildings is the Pominock House. And it's just so, there's such Native American history on our island. And maybe that's some place to just consider, like how the Native Americans treated this planet a lot different than we did, and this region maybe specifically, and with the stewards of the planet, stewards of the land, not owners, not trying to take everything from, not gobble up all the resources. I had no intention of talking about this specifically, which just means somebody's speaking through me. It's the universe right now, for sure. Because I think that's it. That's how we need to steward this land, right? What would you say on that, Mark? And obviously Beth jumped in too.
Yeah, it's a matter of changing the paradigm, Tommy, and we talk about this all the time. The bad news is that Beth and I, when we get together, we talk for 3 hours. I know I could talk to you for 3 hours, so 3 times 3 is 9. I hope the show is going that long today.
Yeah. Well, it will be, but nobody else will be here. It'll just be the three of us at that point.
The paradigm shift is what we're talking about, and working in cooperation with the air, the land, the water, rather than competition. Working in partnership and respect rather than domination and control. And that's where it all really starts. That whole root cause thing, that's where it is.
Oh,
Yeah, and I think you raise a great point about the, Native Americans that used to live here. They didn't have landfills. They didn't leave toxins. They left like no footprint, basically, or maybe a minor one compared to what we're leaving. So that's how I try to think when I go to shop. What is this made of? Where is it going? Just consider the environment when you're making your daily choices.
I want to make it super obvious for people, because I understood and heard everything you said, but I want to make it obvious. Why did they not leave piles of trash? How did they operated differently, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we're making so many synthetics like plastics and, burning fossil fuels that have been under the ground for millions of years. And suddenly within a very short time span, and they all contain carbon, we're releasing them into the air. So that's what's causing the change, that people don't seem to understand. Some folks anyway. Some of us really care a lot. So it's a weird world we live in.
Yeah, because here's my thing with that is I think people just don't know. That's like, it's folks like yourself that are educating. Mark doesn't agree. I got a head nod thing. Maybe people don't care, Mark, if I could read between the lines. But I think tell me what you were thinking. What was the head nod when I said that?
No, people care. And the education part of this thing, they don't know that they don't care until they are aware. And that's a big part of what we do.
They don't know that they need to be made to understand what is at issue and react to that, right? They just don't, like, people go about their lives. If I read something the other day, and we don't have milk in this house, cow's milk. We have oat milk, we have and almond milk and things like that. There's a lot of bags of junk food sometimes, man. And I was reading an article about like red this, red that, all these dyes, all these colors that are not red dye 1 or 6 or 40 or whatever, that affect us and our behavior. And I'm like, man, you grow up eating some junk food, but you don't even realize, because like, I have one of my children is 9 years old, and that, that's been like part of his world. So, and I remember eating a lot. I mean, listen, man, I am the guy who can tell you what Entenmann's items are on sale at the holiday farms. Like, is it a full line sale? Is it a loaf cake sale? Just the donuts on sale? And that's my issue, because I got sweets, but shout out to Entenmann's. They're very philanthropic for a lot of organizations on Long Island. But if you don't know what Entenmann's is, gang, I mean, I don't know what you're paying attention to. My point of this all is to say, you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes the paradigm shift, I love, Mark, because we all sort of operate into this thing of, fish out of water. Like, we know what we know, and it takes disruption. And maybe conversations like this are disruptive, that people will go, oh, you know what? Tommy D is showing he doesn't know anything about this. I want to learn something about this. Let's get plugged in. And that's what I think. That's what I know what this show is about. It's about exposure. It's about reaching out. It's about making connections.
Yeah, and we're so blessed with organic farms out on the East End too. You can choose local organic, and vegan. It's like as good as you can get. We're very fortunate here on Long Island.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it's farmland, and the further you get out, so how do you two collaborate? Like, what exactly, when you come together and have these 3 hour long conversations, where do we go?
Sure, Mark, go ahead.
We cover the planet, and it's really hard to focus because it's not just one thing. Because one thing means something else, means something else, means something else. Because everything is interrelated. You can't talk about air without soil, without water, without people, without economy. It all has to be part of the conversation.
Yeah, and through our work with taking a lead on zero waste, for example, our strategy has been to try for the last 2 years to convene some of the local municipalities with entities like Winters Brothers. They're a big waste, company on Long Island, and the Long Island Regional Planning Council, and others, key parties, the Department of Environmental Conservation of the state, convening everyone to get together and say, how can we come up with solutions for waste? Because the Brookhaven landfill is closing at the end of next year, I believe. That the date is sometimes changing, but soon. And we need a plan. As Winters Brothers informs us that Long Islanders produce about 13 or 14 million pounds of garbage per day, and it has to be dealt with. And what's the best way to do that? And that's why we work on composting. It's kind of a low-hanging fruit because
Sure.
30% of our waste overall is compostable or biodegradable. It's either food scraps or lawn care, scraps. And so, that's something we can easily do something about. And then we're working on the rest of it.
So hold on a sec. So 30% of that 13 million or 14 million pounds a day can be composted. And the problem with that, when it's not composted, it ends up in one of these white or green bags, and it sits in a landfill and it rots, right? And then eventually it gets out of the bag. I guess the bag sometimes, or what, there's methane gases and other gases that become a problem, right, in these landfills, right? So if we could take 30% of that out and redirect it to be composted, reused, we can reuse that, as we talked about in the earlier segment here today, as with incredible benefits.
Exactly.
Or
Methane is a really potent greenhouse gas, and it's coming from our waste. And if we compost it, it doesn't form methane.
Come on, Beth, what are we talking about? I mean, that's like a solution. Shout out to Winters Brothers. Love the gang at Winters Brothers, because they also founded Winters Center for Autism. Chris Ponzio, the executive director, has been on my program here. They are a very special organization working with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities around vocation. So that is a really, really important organization to me. You say convening, you're bringing people together. You're bringing different stakeholders together. That's incredibly important. Gang, we're all people at the end of the day. And as I said, Mark, I don't know if you were listening before you got here, but Elon Musk is trying to get us to Mars. I don't think I can't really wait for that. Like, not like I can't wait, meaning we gotta do stuff here. Like, that's what we have to do. So the convening, when you bring people together, what does that actually look like? Is it at a boardroom? Like, how do you get people? And you know what? You said you two could talk for 3 hours. What happens when you have all these other people there with other interests and other needs? Tell me what that looks like.
Yeah, Mark.
Go ahead, Beth. Oh, okay. So the biggest thing about a community engagement project, and this is how I view things through the project lens or program lens, the community engagement should include as many kinds of people at that table as possible. And it's got to be including the people that maybe don't agree with everything you've got to say.
Yes.
And I know we don't. I'm guaranteed we don't. So that's why we do that sort of thing. And that could be for anything. It could be for any project that you do, social, economic, environmental, it doesn't matter.
I have a quote up here from a friend and colleague of mine. I wrote it here when we were taking a class. I have like little sticky notes and stuff, and we were taking a class for the Institute for Nonprofit Practice. My friend Maheen Kaleem, she is the vice president at an organization called Grant Makers for Girls of Color. And she said this, she doesn't even know I wrote this here, but it says, conflict can be generative. And I learned a lot from my work with this organization, Institute for Nonprofit Practice, but that sticks with me because I'm not big on conflict, man. I'm big on hugs, man, But the whole point of it is, like, we don't have to agree. because I don't have most of the answers and other people don't have most of the answers. But when we take that, that mastermind and bring the big brain together from all the little brains, that's when we really make change, right? I think you guys would agree with that.
Yeah, it's a very poignant point because, right now what's happening to the waste on Long Island is most of it is taken, at least 60%, I believe, is taken to the incinerators on the Long Island. The rest of it is trucked off Long Island to landfills in Pennsylvania and Ohio. It's crazy. But
where's the ecology there, though? Where's the ecology there? Take all this trash, put it on a big old truck that's going to blow off all these fossil fuels and smog and all these other. Come on, man.
Exactly. So,
and don't
then
forget
the
that
ash. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, but just to jump in, because it's not just your food scraps and your leaves and your clippings that are emitting methane. It's your couch. It's the lumber. It's everything gives off methane at some point in a landfill.
Mm-hmm. Yep, exactly. And right now, the ash from the incinerators is going to the Brookhaven landfill. And unfortunately, it is, making people sick in that area. And rightfully so, there are groups there that are really pissed off. And, and it's really hard to come to, what's the best solution for the region. So we definitely need everyone at the table.
We need everybody at the table. Everybody at the table. I want to be around that type of stuff. And because I am a connector, I might know people that should be at the table with you. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to know, maybe some of that stuff is coming up. Maybe some of those meetings are coming up. Maybe there's a fundraiser coming up. Maybe there's just, hey, Tommy D, you want to know more? You should check out this. So when we come back, let's talk about that, because what we've now done is we've exposed certain challenges and issues that we're up against. I don't like the word problem so much. Opportunities and challenges I like a lot more. It seems positive, right? Because there are opportunities, as much as we've screwed this place up, there are opportunities to fix it. And gang, we can't wait for AI to fix the problem. Okay. I'm sorry, everybody. Sorry. They don't really care that much, the AI. Okay. We have to care about it. We come back. What's upcoming for the organization? How can we help? How do we get connected? And is there like a list of folks, 2 or 3 or 5 people that you go, Tommy D, we'd love to meet this person, or love to connect with, somebody over at National Grid or whatever. Consider that. You got 90 seconds. We'll come back. We'll do the game show right back.
Are you a high-achieving, growth-oriented leader? Are you interested in developing your authentic leadership while creating a healthy, inclusive workplace? Hi, I'm Dr. Mira Broncu, host of The Hard Skills on talkradio.nyc at 5 p.m. Eastern on Tuesdays, where we discuss how leaders develop the hard skills needed to make a greater impact. We interview experts, have live coaching, and tackle these challenges. Listen to The Hard Skills on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talkradio.nyc.
Hey everybody, it's Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector, coming at you from my attic. Each week here on talkradio.nyc, I host the program Philanthropy and Focus. Nonprofits impact us each and every day, and it's my focus to help them amplify their message and tell their story. Listen each week at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time until 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on talkradio.nyc.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
You're listening to Talk Radio NYC at www.talkradio.nyc. Now broadcasting 24 hours a day.
Nonprofits need connections to move in good directions. So cut through all the static. Join Tommy in his attic.
So when I started the show a long time ago about runners, I decided that the show would be about helping nonprofits amplify their mission and tell their story, or tell their story and amplify their mission. But a real good theme for the show is we run out of time way before we run out of things to talk about. So my friend Mark just said in the chat, not enough time. Of course not. Never going to be enough time. But that's why you keep coming back for more, man. Here's what I do. I don't think I have done this on the program before, but we used to do it to lead meetings, middle of COVID and stuff like that. Some meetings I would go to, and I was at an event for exponents the other night in New York City for one of my clients and this nonprofit that we support, and they did a land acknowledgement. And so I'm not going to do a whole land acknowledgement right now, but what I wanted to do was 13 original tribes. This is flowing for me today, so I had to look it up. 13 original tribes on Long Island: the Canarsie, the Rockaway, the Merrick, Marsapequa, sounds like Massapequa, right? The Segetobe, the Ungachog, then you go down to the north, up on the North Shore by me, the Matinacock, the Nessaquake, the Settlecock, the Korchog, and then you go out to the east. Here's names you might sound familiar: Shinnecock, Manhasset, Montauk's. These were people that stewarded the earth, took care of this place. We can learn a lot from history. These are good stories in history. All right, let's get back to the show. What's upcoming? Yes, we do, Mark. We'll do a series. Whatever you want to do, man. Don't threaten me with a good time, man. Whatever. You want to do the show once a month? We'll make our own show. Let's do it. Done. That was easy. I didn't even
let you got 12 sessions already in the can. We're ready.
We can do it, man. Listen, what? Don't threaten me with a good time, man. The whole deal. I don't know. You said you were watching the show before you got here. No big deal. Just changing the world, man. No big deal. Because it is a big deal. That's the cute thing. That's me winking at the world. Beth, Mark, what's upcoming? How can we help? What do you need? That sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I want to give Mark a chance to talk about some of the pilots he did, because maybe we can do some more of that. But we work a lot with the Long Island Organics Council. It's something I co-founded with another woman named Judy Greco. Shout out to Judy. We formed this group a few years ago, basically to help get composting going on Long Island, where, we have a New York State Organics Council, and we learned a lot from them, what's happening up elsewhere. So we wanted to get things rolling. And we have quite a few now, community compost projects happening in various areas. But Mark did some great pilot projects, and you were asking, like, who do we need to meet and engage with? I think restaurants, because Mark, tell them about the project you did with Lucharitos.
Yeah, Lucharitos was the first one in Southold, and thanks to Mark Lamina, who volunteered his staff to collect all the food scraps from the restaurant in Mattatuck. And she was pretty out there as far as being conscientious. She was taking being a Mexican restaurant, they had a lot of avocados, and she would spread out all the food and take the little plastic peels off the skins before she brought it to the farm. So that's above and beyond, right? So Brianne, thank you. But just to get the stuff from restaurants who don't even recycle, by the way, we don't have a recycling requirement for our restaurants. And we've got hundreds of these on Long Island. Suffolk County's got 220 large food scrap generators. We're not sure even exactly where that's going. We want to feed ourselves. We want to feed other people. We want to feed animals. And then we want to compost. And that's the hierarchy that we're looking for.
So let me ask you about that. So it sounds like an incredible pilot. Shout out to Lucharitos, and I love the attention to detail. She wanted to make sure that you got this and it was in good order. So the stickers were even off. I love that. My friend, I'm going to just shout him out. My friend Mike D'Onofrio founded a company called Premier Payroll Solutions here on Long Island. They're a regional payroll company. And I say regional because they're here and they focus on in the restaurant and hospitality business, but they're here on Long Island. Been friends with Mike for many, many years, and they focus on the restaurants and hospitality. And Mike wants to support, I'm going to be doing a new show where I go on location with a nonprofit for a day and turn it into a YouTube show. Haven't really shared that much, but it's something I've been thinking about working on behind the scenes. But and Mike might collaborate with me on a group called Rethink Food in New York City. But in this case, I'm thinking there's something here. They get very involved in the community. They get very involved in nonprofit. Mike and his team do, and this is totally on brand. Because I talk about what's on brand. You're a company, Mike and team at Premier, that focus on that space. Mark, you're talking about a solution that's what better thing to brand yourself like that? At least I think these things. You have to talk to the other parties. What we'll do, we'll convene about something like this. As soon as I learn something new, I like to use
instant application. I love it.
Yes, that's it. I use it, applied it right away. So that's a cool pilot. I want to talk more about that. We'll definitely convene on that. Yeah, what else? What's
the restaurants with the farms and making compost locally?
Come on now, what a story. I feel like in The Godfather, we got newspaper men on the payroll. They might like a story like that. Like we got people at News 12. They might like a story like that. We got people at Newsday. They would like a story like that. I'll tell you who would love a story like that. A guy called Tommy D, the nonprofit sector connector. I would love to be able to tell that story. I met some folks yesterday at the HIA in local Long Island, Go Local Long Island, that are really out there. It's a newer situation. They're out there, they like a digital presence and different things like that, and they want to tell the good stories. And who knows, maybe I'm going to partner up and do some stuff with them, because these are the important stories that need to be told. So I rant, I rave, we're running out of time. You'll just have to come back. We're going to do a 12 episode series, apparently. Mark and I just made that up. So Beth, Mark, what's upcoming? Who do you need to meet with? Let's talk more about that. Is there a gala? Is there a fundraiser? I mean, congratulations again, Beth, on the Imagine Awards. I mean, that was like a big shot in the arm for the organization, you said, from a financial perspective.
Yes,
So
huge.
So how else do you raise money?
Well, one of the things I do is I also do a podcast called the Sustainable Living Podcast by Green Inside and Out. Just, basically once a month, and I interview different environmental leaders to talk about solutions. We hear a lot about bad news and the problems, so we want to talk to the folks that are putting solutions in place. And we have sponsors for that. If anyone wants to sponsor their podcast, that would be great. If you sell eco-friendly things or just support the cause, that would be great. And yeah, I mean, like recently we did an event at the Cinema Arts Center in Huntington. We showed a film and did a little, fundraiser there. So that was fantastic, on environmental issues and the, beauty, health, like we were discussing earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah. But who do we need to meet? Everybody.
Everybody.
Like,
Yeah, well, I mean, it's everybody's issue. It's everybody's opportunity. Mark, take it away.
Yeah, just reminded me, we've got a real good hook with John Feldman, who created the movie Regenerating Life. We're bringing that to the North Fork in October through NFEC and all of our partners. It's a 2-hour film, but we break it into 3 parts of 45 minutes, of 40 minutes. And we've got a study group going along with that. So awareness plus practical application, very important.
So when you say 3 segments, you breaking into 3 segments that night and take a break, or is it you people coming back? Just come off mute.
Yep. We've been looking at this in various forms. I went to Connecticut and watched it for 2 hours straight. And it was painful. I watched it in my living room in 8 sections of 12 minutes each.
Yeah.
So we know that. Yeah. Well, no, it was good. You could walk away and digest.
Yes.
And if we do the study guide with John broke this into 3 parts already. So we know where the breaks are and what the big topics are. So I think the educational component about this is going to be very good.
I love it. Well, we're going to learn more about that. That's in October, so we'll know about that. You'll obviously share that with me so we can get connected. The website, again, I want to shout out greeninsideandout.org. I shared a bunch of stuff, a bunch of different screenshots for those of you who are watching on one of the 6 or 8 streaming services we're on right now. I mean, man, we're on Twitch. Shout out to my gamers. We're on Twitch, but a lot of other places. And
shout out longislandorganicscouncil.org also. Check that out.
I shared their website while we were doing, but yes, longislandorganicscouncil.org. Shout them out. Beth, congrats on winning the Imagine Awards. Congrats on being my friend, because that's always a win too. Congrats, Mark, for being my friend and being here. I appreciate everything.
New friends. You
guys are awesome. New friends. Listen, I make friends and then they're stuck with me for life. So just deal with it.
Good with me.
Listen, everybody, we do the show every single week. It is called Philanthropy and Focus. I'll leave you with this. There are nonprofits changing the world each and every moment of every day. If you're looking to feel good and make an impact, get out and partner up with those nonprofits, or just send me a note, TommyD.NYC on Instagram, or send me an email, TommyD@philanthropyandfocus, PHOCUS.com. And I'll tell you where to network. I'll tell you where to connect with nonprofits. I'll tell you how to change the world and make it a better place, at least from what I can see. Mark, Beth, thank you. Logan, thank you. Everybody,
thank you.
Stay tuned for Steve Fry's show, always Friday. That's my guy, the SMB guy. See you later. Bye.
Nonprofits need connections.